Today on Investigate TV Plus, teens across the country facing a mental health crisis. I'm T. Chappelle.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Consumed by social media, many teens don't know where to turn.
It was dark. It was very, very dark. I was just thinking, why is this happening? Why me?
We'll share experts' advice on what you need to watch for when your child is struggling.
Plus, items in your home deemed dangerous, but families still left in the dark.
This is just my story of my government failing my daughter and failing the innocent lives of infants.
The secretive yet perfectly legal process of hiding product hazards from families.
And they answer your call when you need it the most. A 911 center's transformation thanks to an unlikely employee. In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
Anxiety, depression, and thoughts of suicide, they're all part of a nationwide mental health crisis for young people, heightened by the COVID-19 pandemic.
According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the first signs of half of all mental disorders appear before the age of 14.
But for many parents, knowing your child needs help is only the beginning of an uphill battle. Finding that help can feel nearly impossible due to a shortage of adolescent psychiatrists and other mental health providers. According to a University of Michigan School of Public Health study, more than half of U.S. counties lack a single psychiatrist, leaving even fewer providers to treat adolescent patients and making already long wait times for appointments even longer.
One group in dire need of intervention is teenage girls. Recent data from the CDC reveals young girls are experiencing increasing mental health challenges at greater levels than boys.
Medical experts explain why they believe this is happening, and one young woman shares her journey with us from deep depression to newfound peace. When 18-year-old Mackenzie DeLon isn't at school,
That was my first sale for the day. Woo!
she's here at work. Her part-time job selling children's clothing and toys helps to keep her mind at ease.
And if you'll sign this receipt for me, it's the best feeling ever because you're helping bring joy into that little kid's life. You get to spend more time with each customer when it gets slower.
But it wasn't long ago this high school senior was severely depressed, struggling with the isolation of the COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges of adjusting to a new normal.
I kind of locked myself into this depression state. And when we went back to school, my grades started dropping. I didn't really care about anything anymore because I was so upset.
What were you thinking when you were sad and in your room? What was that like to be there by yourself, just alone with your thoughts?
It was dark. It was very, very dark. I was just thinking, why is this happening? Why me?
Mackenzie's story is not uncommon. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that record numbers of high school girls surveyed in 2021 reported feelings of persistent sadness or hopelessness, a 60% increase over the past decade. 30% reported they seriously considered suicide.
Our girls are faced with a lot.
Dr. Angela Spurgeon is a licensed psychologist with the Ochsner Healthcare System in Louisiana. She says part of the reason we're learning more about mental health challenges in teen girls is their willingness to talk about it.
Our teenage girls are getting more comfortable in talking about depression, talking about anxiety. They're feeling validated from their friends.
Dr. Spurgeon helps families navigate the complicated landscape of diagnosing and treating mental health disorders in children.
The biggest challenge that I'm seeing is really high levels of anxiety. The brain is staying in that fight or flight response for extended periods of time. And then what it tends to lead into in the children that I'm seeing is these depressive episodes. So we're not talking major depressive disorder, but it's these depressive episodes.
For teen girls, the anxiety they often feel may have a direct connection to the very essence of who they are biologically and the introduction of the hormone estrogen during puberty. Dr. Richard Chung is an adolescent medicine specialist at Duke University Health System.
So when stressors get beyond just typical day-to-day, but become what we call more toxic stressors, that's when the hormonal context of puberty may actually modulate the impact of that on mental health and may actually increase risk for mental illness among certain girls and young women. And so it's a complicated domain.
Complicating things more, Dr. Chung says doctors are seeing an ongoing trend of puberty starting sooner. An article in the journal Pediatrics reveals young girls are developing breast a year earlier than they were 15 years ago.
One key point to make is that, in general, girls who develop earlier tend to have higher risk of certain mental health distress and mental illness. There's probably a variety of factors going on there, but one thing that we often are cognizant of is when you start to develop physically, that really does change the landscape of how you engage the world.
A world that may be signaling to young girls to grow up faster, a message heard loud and clear through often scantily clad influencers on social media.
Social media right now is really prominent, and it is a very negative and toxic place. Girls are getting compared to unrealistic body images, and it's making people sad, and it's not a good place right now for where we're at in the world.
Are you on social media?
I am. I've tried to not worry about what other people think of me, because I'm not going to change who I am for somebody else simply because they don't like the way I look.
But social media is only a portion of what young people are exposed to online. Dr. Spurgeon believes the onslaught of content at their fingertips can be problematic and detrimental to their mental health.
Growing up, I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have a computer growing up. So, I didn't have that stuff fed into me. So is it the fact that children are they're consumed with information all the time?
Images of school shootings, environmental disasters, and ongoing political unrest.
Defend abortion rights!
I think for a particular individual young person, it's likely a combination of those different stressors and how they add up, and whether for that individual, those stressors become what we call toxic.
For Mackenzie, therapy and medication made all the difference.
I felt like a weight was lifted off my chest when I went to therapy every time, because I was able to sit down with somebody and they would understand what was going on.
Thanks to the help of a counselor, Mackenzie now has the coping skills she needs to manage her emotional highs and lows. She's now making plans for the future.
I often think at night about where I've come from and where I've started to where I am now. It's a completely different lifestyle that I'm living now. It's incredible, and it really is.
And Mackenzie is such an amazing person. I was so happy that she was brave enough to share her story with us so other people could benefit from it.
Yeah, and that really allows others who are watching this, who may be going through that same thing, to benefit and also see others are going through that as well too. Very nice.
Yeah. So how do you know when you should be concerned about your teen's mental health? Dr. Spurgeon says look for changes such as withdrawing from family and friends, poor academic performance, or unhealthy eating or sleeping patterns. She recommends having open conversations with your child about anxiety, depression, and suicide. Really listen to your child and validate their experiences without comparing their lives to yours when you were growing up. If speaking with your child is difficult, make sure there's another trusted adult available who your child knows they can talk to about anything. For more resources on adolescent mental health, go to our website, InvestigateTV.com.
Still ahead on Investigate TV Plus, they earn your vote to represent you in Washington. But is your lawmaker holding up their end of the bargain? How you can be your own investigator and find out.
Plus, dangerous defective products still on store shelves and in homes.
They robbed me of a life with my daughter.
We reveal the process keeping hazardous items on the market.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes. From baby strollers to kitchen gadgets, you expect the products you buy to be safe.
And it's up to the federal government to tell us when safety concerns arise. But the way the law is written usually leaves it up to the manufacturer to disclose dangers.
And we found those hazards are often kept a secret from you, and the products can stay on the market for months or years. A federal agency responsible for regulating products like appliances, tools, and toys knows dangerous items are currently on store shelves in every state.
I can't get into the specifics.
What's blocking that from happening?
That's a simple
on
question.
that case, but what I can
and
tell
I wish
you
I
is
could
I can't
answer
say
it.
anything outside the four corners of what we put in that document.
And what would happen if you did say something?
I'm not going to violate the law, so I don't want to find out the answer to that question.
But a federal law forced this commissioner to decline answering many of our questions about potentially dangerous baby products.
There are products out there right now that I think I would love to tell the public about the harms that they present, and the gag rule prevents me from doing that.
So right now there are hundreds of products on the market that are potentially dangerous that you can't let the consumers know about?
I think that's a safe guess, yeah.
Scary guess.
It should be terrifying to all of us, absolutely. That's why we need to repeal the gag rule.
When a company learns that a product it sells could be defective or dangerous, it's required by law to notify the CPSC within 24 hours by filing a substantial product hazard report. But most of the information in those reports to the Commission remains confidential, secret to the public.
I think it's the most frustrating part of the job sitting here at the Consumer Product Safety Commission.
This spring, we requested copies of the hazard report submitted by the makers of 51 previously recalled products, from pacifiers to ceiling fans, to see what they told the CPSC. We only got 18 back, and those records looked like this, because under the law, the companies were allowed to review and withhold information they didn't want released. The result? Pages almost completely whited out. We took our records to Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal, who is calling for changes, pushing a new law that would lift the veil of secrecy when a company tells the government it might have a problem.
My reaction is this blank page tells you all you need to know about why the law needs to be changed.
To illustrate the true impacts of this censorship, meet Erica Richter.
It is every mother's worst nightmare.
Her daughter Emma, a perfectly healthy 2-week-old, died in a Fisher-Price rock and play.
This is my daughter. And Fisher-Price stole her from me.
Congressional records show in February of 2018, Fisher-Price notified the CPSC that 15 babies had died in the rock and play, submitting a substantial product hazard report. 6 months after the company filed with the CPSC with that report hidden from the public, Erica Richter saw her daughter alive for the last time.
This is just my story of my government failing my daughter and failing the innocent lives of infants.
And even today, the hazard report is still being concealed, locked behind laws that Erica Richter says are failing to protect Americans, especially the most vulnerable.
You don't want to know what's behind the vault of what they know is killing people, right? Literally killing people that they can't tell us about.
Erica Richter is one of dozens of parents who have sued Fisher-Price and whose cases are still pending. Fisher-Price responded to the lawsuit in court and denies every allegation asserted. The company has never responded to our requests for comment.
Meanwhile, consumers are still being left in the dark when it comes to accessing information on saferproducts.gov. But there are 2 things you can do right now to see whether anything in your home is under recall. We have that information on InvestigateTV.com. Just search recalled products.
Next, we show you how to be your own investigator, this time in our nation's capital, where your local representatives land on the issues most important to you.
Plus, it may look like this pup is napping on the job, but she's hard at work. How this therapy dog is healing the hearts of 911 dispatchers.
Our in-depth coverage continues. You can get connected to Investigate TV Plus on all social media platforms.
A stronger economy, lower healthcare costs, and better education. According to a Pew Research study, these are top priorities for Americans who will vote in the next election.
When you cast your ballot, you want the person who represents you in Congress to have your best interests in mind. Reporter Josie Sturman shows us how you can be your own investigator so you can hold your congressperson accountable.
After the ballots are counted and the campaign signs come down, many people forget about their elected officials, at least until the next voting cycle comes around. But if you're curious about exactly how your lawmakers are repping you in Congress or in your state capitol, we're here to help. In this Be Your Own Investigator, we'll show you how to check up on the politicians making decisions on your behalf. We'll start on Capitol Hill, where you can get information right from the source. First, when it comes to the issues they think matter, Congress.gov lets you sign up for email alerts so you can see which bills your representatives or senators sponsor or co-sponsor. For the House, you can go to clerk.house.gov/members. There, members of Congress you're interested in, you just click on their profile. That's where you'll find their contact information and a record of all their recent votes. For the Senate, each senator's voting record can be found on their Senate webpage, generally their last name.senate.gov. Now, we've all heard the phrase follow the money, and there are several places you can go to track the financial side of what's going on in Washington. The Federal Election Commission tracks campaign donations. You can see who's donating money to candidates, I see you, Dad, and how much they're giving at fec.gov. But outside organizations also track the cash changing hands. The nonprofit Open Secrets tracks lobbying and special interest spending, and they let you search by industry or topic. And CapitalTrades.com tracks what lawmakers are doing on the stock exchange. You can also find out what your state lawmakers are doing through sources like Ballotpedia or Open States, or directly through your state government's website. With this Be Your Own Investigator, I'm Josie Sturman.
Still ahead on Investigate TV Plus, we visit a 911 dispatch center where this therapy dog is the star employee.
I don't know what we would do without her.
Why her arrival at the department was a blessing. They're the calm voice on the other line during some of our worst moments. We're talking about 911 dispatchers, one of the most stressful jobs in the country.
So demanding that, according to a study from Carbine, 74% of 911 centers are plagued by staff burnout.
But at a 911 communications center, a new employee is lifting spirits, and we have the science after to prove it. Reporter Ann Emmerich has our story.
Unload.
When Jessie gets out of the car and walks in this door, she knows she's on the job.
And there's a lot of things that go on in this 911 center that are, well, as you well know, we talked about it not that long ago. Very traumatic and hard.
Jessie is a station service dog, a rising trend in 911 centers across the nation.
You do so good.
She's specially trained to work in a public safety setting to offer the kind of support dispatchers may not even realize they need.
She's the normal that all of the staff craves.
Did you undress? You look very pretty.
Comfort for dispatchers who talk people through some of their worst moments. The idea proposed nearly 2 years ago when Barbara Davidson took over as director.
And it was kind of a joke. Barb, get us a dog.
The joke, it turns out, started a serious effort to help dispatchers cope with stress on the job.
Started getting real curious about him. What would it take?
After months of research, she found Jessie at Canines for Warriors in Florida. The organization saves shelter dogs and trains them as service dogs for veterans and public safety settings. It took more than a year to bring 2.5-year-old Jessie on board, and the timing was a blessing.
MSU units, I got a shot fired complaint at Berkey Hall.
She arrived at Ingham County 911 just 2 months before the mass shooting at Michigan State University.
She was here that night. She sat behind the police dispatcher. There were a lot of people in the building that night. She just sat there and waited, and that's what she's trained to do. She's not a pet. She really is a therapy dog.
This is how Jessie spends a lot of her time, and while it looks like she may be slacking, She's really reading the room and hard at work.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
She can sense the stress in the room or if someone needs it. And we'll just come and lay like this or just sit there so you can turn around and talk to her or pet her or she's just really there for us anytime we need her.
Jessie is trained to put her needs behind the business at hand. That means no barking, no running, and no on-demand bathroom breaks.
You like to come to work?
She loves to come to work. Are you kidding me? There's 15 people out there that give her treats all day long.
Jessie.
I mean, we laugh all the time about how we would all like to have Jessie's job and be her because she just kind of hangs out and then she gets belly rubs and that might not be all bad.
Jessie's now venturing outside the 911 center to get those belly rubs. She paid a visit to MSU in her Spartan jersey to give students some love during final exams.
That was really nice to see the smiles and stuff. She does it for us, so it was really nice to see her do it for them as well.
Jessie's trainers say she has a disposition of love, a gift that took her from a shelter to the hearts of the people we rely on during emergencies every day.
She's super easygoing, so easy to be with and to take care of.
I don't know what we would do without her.
According to Johns Hopkins University, just petting a dog lowers the stress hormone cortisol and increases the feel-good hormone oxytocin.
I'm going to pet my maple tonight.
All right, that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus.
Investigating these kind of crimes isn't your typical law enforcement investigation.
Law enforcement fight to protect your children online. Plus, a dad who lost his son to online exploitation shares his story.
And unsuspecting dog owners receive a shocking diagnosis. We uncover the reason vets are seeing more pooches on pot and the symptoms pet parents need to know.